We're in for a treat. Our next speaker is so passionate about technology and so driven about how to make people use technology for what they should be using it for that you would never know he's a lawyer. So, sharing with us today is Todd Flaming with his ultimate application.
Thanks for coming. I want to introduce you to something today, a computer application that is amazing, that is unbelievable, and best of all, it's free. In fact, it's so free, you don't even have to waste time downloading it. Now, how many people here have worked, show of hands, at a computer that runs an operating system? Okay, so a good number of you, which means this will be relevant. The application of which I speak is on your computer today, at least if you're running Windows. And that application is, ding, Notepad. Notepad is the ultimate application. So what I want to do today in the limited amount of time I have is to tell you why you should be using Notepad for just about everything that you do. Let's start out with this. You have to figure out, how do I get Notepad to run? Well, you click the Windows button and R, a little box pops up, you type Notepad and hit Enter, and then, as a result, it will pop up on your screen. And that is Notepad. Now marvel at its elegance and simplicity. It's an application of beauty. Notepad, you might think, well, it looks so simple, it doesn't do anything. Well, you'd be wrong. Let's talk about the many features and functions of the Notepad application. First of all, Notepad is a note-taking application, as you can probably guess from the title. You can make your notes on your Notepad and save them into your desktop. Notepad has another amazing feature. You can turn it into a log application. You type .log at the beginning of the file and then save it, and every time you open it up, it will let you take notes and put in a date timestamp. And see, look, Notepad actually invented Twitter. Now, Notepad has many other features. For example, Notepad has a to-do function. And what you do to make this work is you type in your entries, clean desk, file motion, etc., and you put little stars next to them if you want. And when you're done, a lot of to-do applications have a check-off feature for getting rid of things you've completed. Notepad has one too. It's called cut and paste. You cut and paste down at the bottom, and then at the end of the day you can clear out your done. So it's very efficient. It takes fewer clicks actually than a traditional application for handling to-dos. Notepad also has a calendar feature. Now this is the great part about Notepad. Notepad's calendar feature is so efficient and so well designed that it's actually better than a traditional calendar application. Anybody use Outlook? No, I do. Well, Notepad's better. Check this out. See all my entries for the next 7 months in just 2 screens, just by one scroll. I can add an entry, I can take out an entry, I can do whatever I want. Very easy to do. And you might think it's faster to use Outlook. Outlook has somehow sped things up. But here's what it takes me to do to get a lunch date in my Outlook. I have to go through 9 steps to get it done in Outlook. But in Notepad, only 5. Think about it, all the money you've paid for Microsoft Outlook when you could have Notepad and save yourself money and time. Notepad is amazing. Notepad even has a contacts feature. Look at that. I've got all my contacts put into here. I just type them in, and as you can see, I've got them all organized alphabetically, which is useful, so I can find them. But even if I can't find them because I put them in a disorganized way, Notepad has an amazing search feature. You hit Control F for find, and then you type in what you're looking for. Here, Z, all the way to the bottom, took no time at all. Now you think, well, that's good, but what else can it do? Well, let me show you. You can write a letter to Z because Notepad is also a word processor. Notepad works perfectly. I type the letter, I format the margins and get rid of the header and footer, and then I can print it to my letterhead, and there it is. Whoops, there's a typo. What do I do about that? Obviously, I've got a problem because I populated my sample data with the same street for most of the people in my contact list, and I misspelled anywhere as onwhere. So I go back to Notepad, and it has a search and replace feature, and look at that, all fixed. And try that in a traditional contact management application. All right, so it has all these features. It has another feature. It has a memorandum writing feature. Here I can write a memo, and what you do to activate the memorandum writing feature is you type memorandum at the top, and then you put in your header block, and then type your memorandum. Very simple. Graphical elements. You know, one of the great features of Notepad is not burdened by a bug that inflicts most modern software, which is proportionally spaced fonts. Notepad is free of that. Every character occupies exactly the same space in a nice grid. So you can do plenty of great artwork in this. Here I've outlined a Ponzi scheme, or you could do an org chart. They're often the same. A timeline, an amazing timeline. I put the numbers on the left. I put the events on the right. So this is a really, really powerful application in such a simple, elegant package. But let's take it to the next level. A lot of applications sort of do one thing. Notepad does everything all in one screen. I'm going to create a project called Hercules. Let's start out by adding the team members. Notepad has a feature that lets you list all the team members on your project. It also can, look at that. It has a widget that puts the to-do function right there in the screen seamlessly. You wouldn't even know that there's anything special going on. And calendar for the project. And notes, all in one screen. Fantastic. And in fact, if you make a mistake, look how easy it is. Think about a traditional project management package. You'd have to go through a lot of forms. You'd open it up. You'd have to type in a lot of boxes. If I want to add the extensions for the team members, I just click and add. No complicated forms, no fuss, no muss. How about this application? Do you want it? Well, you got it. Now, obviously, one of my screens is missing. I'm not here to talk about Notepad in terms of selling you on buying Notepad or getting a Notepad, because you have it. So I might have another objective. Sometimes lawyers are sneaky that way. And I've decided to be a little sneaky. And what I want to talk about is what is so great about Notepad? What can we learn from Notepad? And maybe we can take that and apply it somewhere else. So here is something that Notepad has going for it. First, it's simple. Now, what does simple mean? Well, on the road from DOS to simple, we got lost, as you can see from my next slide. Look at Microsoft Word and all the buttons that you can add, not to mention the Byzantine menu structure that you can go through just to do simple word processing. This is so stressful, I was worried about putting up this slide because somebody might have a weak heart. The desktop is no better. This is your desktop. We think of our desktop when the metaphor here is a big desk, and we're going to put everything in a desktop. But is this like a desktop? This is a little box with a big, crazy, confusing, pop-up driven mess in it. What was the design metaphor for this? It's Times Square on acid. This is not useful. Compare Notepad and how simple it is. And what's great about Notepad is it doesn't have a lot of extra complexity. So there's something we're learning here from Notepad about simplicity, and that is lacking a lot of stuff. There's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer is launched into space, and he accidentally runs into an experiment, breaks the glass, and ants are released. And the ant yells, "Freedom, horrible, horrible freedom." There's a lesson we can learn from this ant, and that is that, I think some of you already know this, that multitasking is really a lie. Nobody really multitasks. Having all these things popping up at you, emails, notifications, web pages, everything, it's very, very confusing. So we might want to take a step back as we're redesigning software and think maybe we just want one choice in a simple, clean screen. Now you would say, well, nobody will ever succeed with software that is uncluttered and doesn't constantly confront you with hundreds of options. Notepad has another feature, and that is, as I illustrate here, it is not a fiefdom. Now, most software you see these days, each application is very vain. It has a sense of self-importance that is way too great. It takes up too much of its own, of your screen, of your life. You don't come to work on Word or Excel. You come to work on your projects, your assignments, what you need to get done. And these applications have grown so powerful and become so much like medieval fiefdoms that they don't really work together very well. They're all sort of self-contained. And all that interoperability talk we've heard for years, how interoperable are all these applications? These are things that are supposed to work together and only do so in very defined, pre-programmed ways. None of us really have the option to customize them the way we want. Notepad, on the other hand, as I put up here, try reading an Outlook data file with a text editor. Be sure to back up your computer file first. You can't get into Outlook. I've tried to program with Outlook. It's almost impossible. You need to know Visual Basic, and I'm just not smart enough for that. Notepad, on the other hand, is simple, right? This is a good example of what an application can do. You can cut and you can paste. And another thing that's great about Notepad is enabling. Notepad lets the user do what the user wants. You saw my project earlier, right? Let's say you want to create an office intranet. You know those things where you put up an internal web page and people get to go to the project site for whatever they're working on, all the team members? Well, let's say we start with Microsoft Sharepoint. So I tried to figure out Microsoft Sharepoint. I went to Microsoft's site. And the first article entitled How to Restore a Corrupted Windows SharePoint Services Homepage gives you a good indication of where you're headed. Now, I took some of this text, and files do not appear when you use web-distributed authoring, versioning, WebDAV, and I couldn't read anymore, so I typed it into Google Translate. I didn't know what language to translate from. Into English, apparently, it thought this was English. I added a better translation. The end user has been forgotten. Nobody cares about us anymore. This is for software developers. We can't use these things. You say, well, that's not a big deal. Hire the IT department. How many people have ever tried to get something done inside your own office that involves a great idea where you have to go through IT or an outside consultant? It involves committees, it involves meetings, it involves internal politics, and you just say, that's it. I'm done. You can't do anything that way. The end user needs to be empowered. Let's try making an intranet with Notepad. There's my project page. I simply save it and open it up in a web browser. And lo and behold, it works. You'd say, well, that's not an intranet. Other people need to use it. So fine. I provide the rest of my team access to the same file. And they open it up in their web browsers. Oh, you say, well, that doesn't have hyperlinking. Okay, fine. Add some HTML code, save as .html, and lo and behold, hyperlinks. Congratulations. You just created an intranet in 5 minutes with absolutely no cost of software. Of course, we all know what's going to happen in a few years, as you can see from this article I captured from the future, thanks to the Einsteinian notion of time. So, okay. So what do I want? Right? Why am I up here telling you about a simple application and complaining about software and the direction that we've taken? Well, Daniel Burnham said, and I think I have the quote right, make no small plans. The corollary to that is be completely unreasonable at every turn. And I intend to be completely unreasonable. I want a new operating system. I want the operating system redesigned from the ground up to take into account me, you, the rest of us who have to actually use these things. And here's an example of what it looks like. I didn't program it, I just drew it up. Now you'll look at this and you'll say, what is this thing? Where are the buttons? Where are the icons? There are no boxes around anything. There are no buttons, no icons, nothing. It's got my inbox, a calendar, to-do list, and projects that I can click on to link into a project homepage. Everything I do relates to a particular thing. I want to group everything together under that thing. You'll notice the inbox. I have an email. It says, I click on the email, a little helpful arrow points to the right, and you can see with my email that my computer has figured out options for me. It turns out when emails are like little assaults on my tranquility. They constantly hit me. So what I want to do is I want to have my email, I've studied my email habits, and I want to have my email be easier to deal with so I can get rid of my email when I'm done with it. This thing gives me, it's figured out the options here for rescheduling a meeting. It's looked at my calendar, it knows I like to meet on Thursday and Friday, so it's giving me checkbox options. Very, very convenient. It's also giving me the option of putting in some to-dos, because often I get an email, I need to create some to-dos, 1 more, 2, 3. And it gives me a way to file it. I put a tag on it. This thing already has a couple of tags it suggests, and a project. It's got the default project it thinks this should relate to. And then when I'm done, I have 2 options: file it or trash it, and it removes itself from my inbox. That's why there are only 3 emails in my inbox. Wouldn't it be nice if you could have a clean inbox? The rest of it works pretty much the same way. You'll see that you can do very simple things. Some of my graphics didn't come through, but I've got the temperature on the right and the Dow on the left. And I've got very minimal information, only what I need, displayed vertically so it doesn't take up all my screen space. No clutter, no mess, no boxes, no buttons, nothing. Let's say I want to go into Project Redesign OS. I click on it, and what happens? I jump into my project page. It has the inbox, calendar, to-do, and project documents for that project. And here it is. Here's a project document on the right. And it's got text. It's got a spreadsheet. I can put graphics in there. I'm not opening up an Excel spreadsheet and a Microsoft Word document and saving them and then incorporating from the Excel. I'm just creating a document that I want. Why can't I do this? If I want to go to another document, I don't need to hit Control-S for save and worry about that. I just click on the other document, get the text, copy it, and then put it back in here. All right. You might ask, where are all the menus and button bars? Well, I don't think we need them. I think we can go back to the way things were. Maybe you can have context-driven stuff, but I've got a solution here, which is we can all learn through song. We can go back to memorizing a few things on our computer. That's it. If you want to cut and paste, then select text, Control-X to cut, Control-V to paste, X to cut, V to paste, X to cut, V to paste, X to cut, V to paste. You have cut and pasted. Thank you. My kid's harmonica. Now you know the shortcuts for the keys. You don't need to have a menu for this. Where are all the applications? Well, as I said, applications are not doing us any favors. So let's put them behind the scenes and have them contribute to bits and pieces of the web page or the screen that I see. Why should I have to open up these big clunky boxes with button bars and file menus? Why can't I just have all this stuff in the background? Applications should neither be seen nor heard. And finally, where are my folders? I don't want folders. I want to get rid of folders. As a lawyer, I have to do discovery and get documents from people's computers, and it's unbelievably expensive and time-consuming. Let's just get rid of the old archaic folder metaphor and put things where they belong in their project folders. The computer can file it for you like a valet. And we just expand search with a lot of additional functions. So, to sum up, I haven't built this, but I want this. And I think a lot of other people want a simpler operating system too. So please build this for me. Thank you.